Welcome to the road to 1 million US dollars. Let's get right into the Bitcoin chart for today, starting on the 1 hour time frame for Bitcoin, because today, guys, we have this possible W pattern that is potentially about to break out to the upside. However, there are some risks that we should also be taking a look at. So first of all, let's take a look at this W pattern then. Right here, you can see that we have horizontal lows in the Bitcoin price forming this W pattern. And if we now start breaking out above 105.5K, then at that point, it would actually set up this price target here of about 107.6K in the Bitcoin price. Now, as you can see, I have this arrow drawn in my chart here. However, this isn't necessarily a call or a prediction. I'm simply showing you the W pattern because there are a lot of lines in the chart at the moment. The only point at which I actually start targeting this 107.6K level is after we break out above this point of the breakout, which is, like I said, at 105.5K. So keep that in mind. Apart from that, if I take a look at the RSI momentum indicator on this 1 hour time frame, recently we were in oversold territory. I made my last video around this time right here, talking about us resetting to around this 50 level. As you can see, we have since then beautifully reset to around that 50 level. And from there, we have basically just been chopping sideways in this range here. And speaking of this range, obviously, this is also a parallel channel right now. So for now, the Bitcoin price is simply trading sideways until we actually break out above 105.5K once again. But until then, guys, a rejection from there back down to the lows, sitting at this level of support of 103.4K is still completely on the table. And in fact, if I take a look at this 2 hour time frame, for example, you can see that I can draw this perfect level of support all the way back to these previous lows from about a week ago. And besides that, we are trading below this descending trend line on the 2 hour time frame. So right now, guys, yes, a rejection is still completely on the table. In the case that you're interested, this level of resistance is sitting at about 105.2K, but it is trending down slowly over time. The point that I'm trying to make is that if we do end up breaking down below that level of support, then it can start to get pretty bearish for Bitcoin rather quickly. For example, the next bigger level of support on this lower time frame is already sitting at 101.5K in the Bitcoin price. Moving on to this 1 day time frame then, we are currently still inside this massive symmetrical triangle pattern. Now, in the case that you're not familiar with these patterns, it means that we can break out to the upside and to the downside. Right now, we're trading a little bit closer to this level of support, which is sitting at around 103.5K, roughly speaking. But so long as we do not break down below there, then again, a reversal back to the top side of this pattern and potentially even a breakout is still completely on the table. Another thing that we should keep in mind with these symmetrical triangle patterns is that there is a decent chance of a fake out. So this would be, for example, a move to the downside followed by a move back inside the pattern, after which it then ends up breaking out to the upside. For example, we saw this here recently on the lower time frames. It was a couple of days ago. I don't remember exactly, but we first saw a little bit of a fake out and then shot to the upside, beautifully hitting our price target. So the same thing applies here. It's just on a higher time frame. And I will start to talk about the price targets when this thing actually breaks out, because for now, I do think it is still a little bit early. Moving on to the Bitcoin liquidation heat map, first of all, on this 2 week time frame, notice how right now the biggest pocket of liquidity is to the downside at 103.2K, roughly speaking. And in the case that you're not familiar with this chart, typically the Bitcoin price gets attracted to where there is the most liquidity. So on this 2 week time frame right now, that is to the downside, again at around 103.2K. But if I actually zoom out all the way to this 1 year time frame, right here you can see that we have massive liquidity to the upside, sitting at around 111K, where we have over $41 billion worth of short positions that would get liquidated if the Bitcoin price reaches this level. In terms of liquidity to the downside, there is still big liquidity around 103K, so that is not something that we should completely disregard. But overall, on the higher time frames, most of the liquidity is to the upside right now. Lastly, though, if we take a look at the Bitcoin ETF flow tables, yesterday we saw a decently big inflow of over $200 million in a single day of trading. So obviously 200 million is a lot of money, but if we are speaking relatively for the Bitcoin ETFs, this is not a massive day. Something to point out though is that we did see massive inflows into the BlackRock Bitcoin ETF, which had over $600 million worth of inflows, but simultaneously we saw massive outflows from these other ETFs, leading to a net inflow of $200 million. But either way, as you can see in these recent days on the right side column, overall, the Bitcoin ETFs are having an upwards pressuring effect on the Bitcoin price right now. Either way, this has been today's market update. Thank you very much for watching once again, and I will see you tomorrow in the next one.